Hello, this is Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a card for the Heffy Doodle Winter Wonderland Challenge. And so this is a Facebook challenge, and you would need to join the Heffy Doodlers page in order to participate, but there is a prize. So I'll have it linked down below, and you just head on over there, join the Heffy Doodlers group, and you can participate as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the Heffy Doodle products that we're going to be using today. We're going to use this adorable stamp set called Wanna Build a Snowman, and I have the matching die to go with it. We're also going to be using the stitched Slopey Joes border dies, and I cut out 3 of those, so we'll be using those here in a little bit. And I used some Bristol Smooth Strathmore paper, and so I've got this up on my waffle flower water media mat. We're going to do some ink blending. Doing it on your waffle flower media mat makes it so much easier because it just grips that paper and you don't have to worry about it sliding around too much. Okay, so I've got some Distress Oxide ink colors that I've chosen, and we're going to just blend those out. That first one that I picked was Squeezed Lemonade. This next one is Tattered Rose, and I've sped this up like 4 times because it's ink blending and it can get pretty redundant and boring to watch. So the next color I've picked is Milled Lavender, and then we are going to just keep blending back and forth until I get the blend that I want. And then that final color that I've chosen is Dusty Concord, and I'm going to kind of bring that around the edges a little bit. It's a little bit different for a winter scene than you might think, but I really like the way this turned out. I'm splattering some water on that, and then I'll let that sit for a few seconds. And then when I'm done letting that sit, I will wipe that up with a microfiber cloth. And it's pretty subtle since these are light colors, but I want to move on to doing a little bit of splatter. I'm going to use some Picket Fences Distress paint. Now, this goes on stark white, but because these are distress colors, they will kind of absorb some of that color, so that white will be a little bit more subdued, but that's okay, I don't mind. I also grabbed some Tsukineko Shimmer Spritz in the color Pewter, and I'm shaking that up, and then I'm going to take the lid off, and then I'm just going to kind of spritz that all over that background as well. And then we'll set that off to the side to dry here, but I wanted to show you what that looked like. It's very shimmery and it looks like snow and it's pretty. Now I've put some more of that Bristol Smooth Strathmore paper into my mini Misty, and I'm grabbing out the images that I plan to use, and I'm just going to pick those up with the door of my Misty. I'm going to grab my magic powder bag, put that all over the background, wipe that away with my sweeping tool from Tonic, and then I'll ink up my images with some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, because I want to heat emboss this, and I'm going to do some watercoloring. It's a little bit different than what I typically do with my Heffy Doodle images, but I just really wanted to try this. So I'm covering that with some Brutus Monroe Icicle embossing powder. This stuff is nice, clear, fine detail embossing powder. And so I'm just going to heat that till that is smooth and melted, and you'll be able to tell because you'll hold it up into the light and it'll be nice and shiny. For my watercoloring, I'm going to use my Arteza Real Brush markers, and I am going to put down the first color, which is my darker color, and then I'm going to blend that out with my lighter color. And I like these markers because you can go back over them a few times, just kind of blending out, almost like Copics, but this is a water-based medium, so that's nice. If you want to pull in a water brush, which I end up doing, you can do that as well. But I like that I'm kind of just going back and forth with those light and dark colors, and I can blend that out, and we get these cute little penguins. I'm using some darker grays. I have the set of 48 markers, but I'm thinking I'm going to have to splurge if I get a little Christmas money and buy the set of 96 because I'm so enjoying using these. Once I discovered the right kind of paper to actually use with these markers, and I talk more about that next week, but once I discovered the right kind of paper, I really just started loving these markers. And so I'm going to do a lot more with these in the future. You'll definitely see these. And if you don't have anything like these, it's definitely something you could look into if you like using different mediums. I mean, if you are like Copics Rid, I'm not, or Arteza Everblends, or whatever your medium, just regular watercolor, that's great. But if you like to dabble, which I do, then these are something you might want to look into because the price point is good and they're just fun to use. All right, I'm going to move on to the tree, and this is where I grab a very light gray. It's hard to tell And I wasn't 100% happy with how that lightest gray was looking. So I pull in a little bit darker gray, just a little bit darker, and I put that right on the top of that. And then I'm going to take that light gray one more time and I'll blend that out a little bit more. And my goodness, the shading that you can get is just incredible. I think it's just so much fun. So here I am blending that out even a little bit more, and it just really adds a lot of shadowing and shading. I thought about adding a little bit of green to this tree, but then I thought, no, where these not polar bears, these are penguins. Where these penguins are, it's going to be quite cold, so you may not see any green on a tree. For my purples, I ended up grabbing this pink. I guess I was thinking it was going to be a little bit darker, at least when I blended it on my paper, I thought it was, but I wasn't happy with that, so I bring in a darker purple here, which is nice because you can go over the top of those a little bit more. The good thing about this pink that I had brought in is that I do have some pink in the background, so it doesn't look, completely out of place. And so I'm going to do this with all of the little images. I'll add my darkest, which is very different than I do with my Copics. With my Copics, I always go lightest to darkest, but I'm finding with these, it's almost better, at least for me, to go darkest to lightest. So I'm really enjoying that kind of color blend, which is nice and it's different. And I'm just choosing colors that go along with the background that I blended in. I didn't want to add too much more, so my color palette is the purples, the yellows, the pinks, and a little bit of orange. And so I stuck with just one color blend of yellow for the light or the little baubles on this tree. And then I did a 2-color blend for those purple baubles, and then I'll bring in that pink by using it on the garland. And then I will use that water brush to blend those out a little bit better. And this is a work in progress as far as like learning to color and paint with these. Like I've said with every medium, you just need to practice. You just need to get in there and give it a try because, your first go round may not be real great. But the more that you work with the medium, the better you'll be with it. So you really just need to practice. So I'm grabbing just one blend for orange, and I should have at this point wiped off in between using each color, I wasn't wiping off my water brush very well. So you'll see here I bring in some orange because I had some orange stuck to the bottom of stuck to the tip of my water brush. But it's okay. It at least it's in the same vicinity as their little feet, so it's not as big of a deal. And then we're just about finished up with our coloring. I'm going to add a little bit of gray to the snowman. I end up adding some Nuvo drops to him later on, but for now the gray works. It's a good base. And there's where the pink comes in, a little bit more pink. Wanted to make sure that I hit all of those colors that were in that background just to draw everything in. And then I'll add a little bit of yellow and we'll be ready to start using our matching dies. So I'll tape these down with some low tack tape. In this case, I'm just using some washi tape, and I make sure and do that just on the outsides of the images. And so then I have them all cut out. I did already attach that first Slopey Joe border, and now I'm going to put another one down. You can tell this is obviously going to be bigger than what the card base itself is going to be. I don't mind that. This is where I'll just grab in my Tim Holtz guillotine trimmer, and then I'll line that up and I'll trim off the excess. It's the easiest way to do it. And then I have a little bit left over on that one side, so I'll snip that off as well. I love this guillotine trimmer for that. And then I'll attach my last slope to it. I thought about adding some foam tape as well, and you very easily could. I just wanted to make this a very super easy mailer. Not that adding some foam tape makes it harder, but it definitely will add bulk. And then I'm going to start adhering all the rest of my pieces to the front, keeping those flush to it as well. I just thought it was fun. And like I said, you could add dimension, but this works. And I had stamped and cut out 2 little branches for his arms. But do you think I could find that other one? I'm sure I'm going to find it attached to something later on or in a pocket or something. So I only have the one little tree, the little branch for his arm, and that's okay. It's fine. You get the gist. He's trying to put the arm on the snowman. Such a cute, cute, cute little image. I love all these little images in there. I'm going to put this back into my Misty because after all that, you don't want to screw up the sentiment, right? And, of course, if I had been thinking, I would have stamped it in the beginning. But I'm going to ink this up with that VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. I love this for sentiments. It works out so nicely. It's such a crisp ink. And then I'll clean off my stamp. And then I'm going to put down the Wishes stamp. Trying to line that up, pardon my head, as best I can. Close the door of the MISTI, pick it up, and ink that up once again with that same ink. And then for my card base, I'm using some of your Brutus Monroe Not Your Mama's heavyweight card base. It's a 120-pound card base. And then I'm going to use some liquid glue to adhere that down to the front of my card. But as I said, I do end up using some White Blizzard Nuvo drops. I'm going to put that just on the ornaments, and I'm going to put it on the side of the snowman so that it gives a little bit of shimmer and shine to match that background. But that's going to do it. That's going to finish off our card. And as I said, this is a challenge. So I will have a link to the challenge down below. You will have to join the Heffy Doodlers fan page, which is no big deal, but you'll want to do that anyway so you can see what everybody's been making. And then, yeah, so then that way you can join the challenge. But if you like this card, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by.